and welcome. This is Lagos Parliament and I am Abimbola Agbebi. As the West African examinations take off, the Lagos State House of Assembly has emphasized the need for Rite Education Committee to monitor the level of compliance with safety guidelines by schools. This will form the highlights of the program this week.
All in favor say aye. Those against the ayes have it.
The Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members, Lagos State House of Assembly.
The day's proceedings kicked off with an issue considered under matters of urgent public importance. It's about the resumption of schools for students in graduating classes as ordered by the Federal Ministry of Education.
All schools will open in Nigeria. This is to prepare our students for WAEC exams.
With examinations for students in graduating classes now underway, Chairman House Committee on Education feels the need to commence oversight functions in the schools.
The resumption of the final year students in the public secondary school in Lagos State. After said and done, the Lagos State government has to go in line with the directive of the federal government and allow the students to resume for their final examinations in the secondary schools. And there are a lot of guidelines that we all agree that must be in place that the schools must follow. The Ministry of Education came back and they agreed with the committee. They informed the committee that all has been done. And the report is not as if we did not trust them. There is always reason for us to visit these schools to see the level of facilities on ground.
Issues such as the level of compliance on the part of the schools drove the deliberations.
The proposal by the Committee on Education is very good. We recognize the fact that schools cannot be closed indefinitely. Students will have to go back to school, but at what cost? Mr. Speaker, I'm just trying to think aloud. With the statistic given by the chairman, about 600 plus schools in the state. That's if we are talking about the public schools. With the private school, is more than that. For how long will the committee go on this visitation? At best, what we can achieve with the committee is a kind of random investigation of schools. I'm just trying to think that as representative of the people, can we suggest an enlargement of the committee to include all members? My proposal is this, Mr. Speaker. While the committee is taking random sampling, to be assisted by the honorable member in their respective constituencies to see the school. I'm sure that no honorable member can even go to all the schools in his constituency in a day. With this, we'll be able to capture more. Human beings are funny. On the day of resumption, Mr. Speaker, there could be compliance with this procedure set by the ministry. Second day, third day after, they may have to relapse to that negligence. And what we are trying to protect here is not just doing the oversight, but to be sure that our children are safe in their schools. And safety is very important. So I'm thinking, Mr. Speaker, while the committee is going about on random sampling, maybe individual member is charged with responsibilities of making visits to school with the constituency and submitting report or finding to the committee, so that the committee can collate this with what the committee is also able to achieve within a short time to be able to do this visitation.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the last 6 months, we have seen the effect of COVID-19 not only on the health, but as well on the economy of Nigeria and Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the status of our schools at the moment, we will realize we have infrastructural decay with our schools, which the government, we must commend, are doing everything possible to revamp the schools and put them back in shape. Mr. Speaker, in some schools, they don't have chairs. And we want these students to go back to these same schools to sit and write exams. How would they perfect or practice the COVID regulations of social distancing? Mr. Speaker, beyond the submission of the chairman on education, Mr. Speaker, I also would like to add, if possible, they say prevention is better than cure. If possible, these students can actually go for the test before resumption. When you know your status, you stay back at home. Without knowing your status is like walking blindly into an ambush. When a student knows the status, they are negative, they can resume school. If you're positive, stay at home. For if you allow them come into classrooms, they will transmit, and when they transmit, it goes back to the parents that have children in school, as rightly said by Honorable Akisoya. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to add to that that they should look for possible means of testing these children before they go back to school.
The parents of these children that are involved in this, that are going to be involved in these ongoing examinations, to also adhere to some of the strict regulations, because there's no point when you have access to all these regulations and you address strictly to them in the school, and you go back home and it's another story. So one way or the other, they have to be advised to properly engage in the necessary guidelines needed to secure these kids, as they will be interrelating with so many groups of people from different families and different backgrounds. So that sensitization for the parents is absolutely necessary in this regard. Furthermore, I would also encourage that the schools should take into cognizance that the food pavilions and what have you shouldn't be encouraged within the school premises and even close to the school premises, because you don't know where anyone has gone to or has been coming from. So on this note, the parents too should actually go in strict compliance with all of this and provide the necessary food benefits for their children or the wards to take them through the period of the examination period.
Are we really, really ready for resumption? There are schools that I have, very recently, went to see whether, they have facilities on ground. And lo and behold, I must tell you that there are some of the schools that doesn't even have running water as we talk. We're talking about this COVID-19 pandemic, where we need running water and soap to wash our hands and sanitization facilities. So we must not treat this issue with kid glove. I want to also seek the approval of Mr. Speaker and the House to allow the committee, embark on this oversight function.
Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the virus here, and the fact that someone tests negative today, does not mean it can be positive tomorrow. Especially considering the fact that most of the students will go in groups to school, will go in public transportation every day. So the issue of who is positive or who is negative, yes, it's important, and we can ask every school or the government to test them. But one thing we must understand is this is a virus. The fact that we've done the test today does not mean for the rest of the week. You're talking of the test we've done now. You don't know what's going to happen the next hour, the next 2 hours. And it's a virus that everybody keeps talking about. It stays on the table for 12 hours. It stays on your blood for 24 hours. So it simply means that I can do a test this morning, test negative, and on my way home, be positive. But I think what is important at this time is for us to check the preparation of our government. What are we doing in these schools? What are the facilities in place?
Though the Chairman House Committee on Health gave a brief report on the level of preparedness on the part of the state government, some of the lawmakers were still worried about the readiness of the country for the unexpected.
As we speak now, most of the schools, they've been equipped with necessary sanitizers and hand washing section in each of the schools. But
so how do we identify a child who has been infected already?
The only thing we need to do is that social distance is what they are going to apply.
Among the children?
Among the children, because the sitting arrangement is well defined now. Not regular sitting like before. Each student will be on a seat with a gap in between each of the students. But the oversight function we are talking about, I think it will be more effective if Committee on Education and that of the Health will move together for us to ascertain that proper thing is being done. So what they told us is what we are saying now. But for us to see what they've really put in place, I think Committee on Education and Health should do the job. Thank you, sir.
Amused by the submission of my colleague, Honorable Shokule, just now, with respect to social distancing. I know of schools that have about 150 students in a class. They are cramped together. So how do we maintain social distance in that kind of scenario? That is why I think this issue is a very, very important thing, so that the issue of pandemic will not escalate. So the school, just like, that's why I support this motion wholeheartedly. Something must be done to ensure that either we stop the students from going back to school at this time until those things are solved, and instead of paying lip service to this matter. It's a very serious matter. Thank you, sir.
For the exercise to be more effective, there were suggestions on the need for a general monitoring of both public and private schools across the 40 constituencies in the state.
We're going to monitor it and we will conduct it in a decent manner. Where we discover that those things are not in place, we take them up on those areas.
The coming days will witness inspection of schools across the state as well as its facilities as the struggle to flatten the curve of the pandemic continues all over the country.
Meanwhile, more than 200,000 jobs would be created in Lagos State in another 4 months when the rice processing factory in Imota begins operations as projected by the Ministry of Agriculture. This was one of the findings made at the inspection of the project by the state lawmakers.
Imota is a sleepy town in Ikorodu with a relatively growing population. The small but rustic community is now home to a mega rice mill project which is still under construction.
It was just a small factory before, but when the expansion came in, we were like very happy that this thing will like develop this small town. Mr. Governor, I'm blowing you a kiss.
On tour of the facility is the Lagos Assembly Committee on Agriculture and some members of the Executive Council.
Those that will be maintaining the entire compound or the complex, the security, the laborers, all of those people are included, the rice farmers.
The industrial hub sits on an 8.5 hectares of land. It is targeted at addressing the challenge of food security. When completed, its expected capacity is 32 metric tons of rice per hour and 2.8 million 50 kilogram bag of rice per annum.
The idea around putting together this mill is for employment generation, for wealth creation, but more importantly for food security. So Lagos State as a whole consumes over 1 million metric tons of milled rice annually. Nigeria consumes just about, I think, 7 million. So you can see the quantum of what Lagos consumes is huge compared to the rest of Nigeria, because Lagos is actually the market for sub-Saharan Africa. So for such level of demand and with barely little production or supply, then we are at a loss here, which is the reason for this mill line being in place. Now, for 32 metric tons per hour, this makes this mill line, or this mill in itself, the 4th largest in the world. It will be the largest in sub-Saharan and in Africa as a whole. So it means that the amount of employment that will be generated here would be phenomenal. We are anticipating that we should have over 250,000 jobs created across Nigeria, across the entire value chain around rice production, processing, marketing and distribution and logistics as well. So with over 250,000 jobs provided.
With the time frame projected for the rice mill to commence operations, the lawmakers appear satisfied with the work done so far.
Our main purpose of coming here, we have everybody, especially everybody in Nigeria, especially Lagosians, we have heard a lot of things in respect of this 32 tons rice mill in Mota. But the best thing for us is to come and see things for ourselves with the commitment that the Lagos State government have committed in terms of taxpayers' money. So we believe it behoves on us, the House Committee on Agriculture to come and see things for ourselves, to see the percentage of job done so far, if it is commensurate with the percentage of fund being released by the state government. And so far so good. We have seen a lot of work that they have done. If this thing starts functioning very well, it's going to collapse the prices of rice in the state and in Nigeria in general. When we brought the lake rice in 2016, 2017, that has been able to brought down the prices of the rice in Nigeria, not only in Lagos State then. So if you start this thing, and by December, it's going to have Christmas and New Year, and lots of activities will be taking place. And I pray that by then, this pandemic will have gone. So we want them to hasten the job so that they can finish by that December.
Let me say firstly that while reminiscing is like an homecoming, as I was one of the initiators of this rice mill. We started from lake rice, and today we have the rice mill in Lagos to further advance, the production of rice for Lagosians and Nigerians at large. We are here to carry out one of our basic functions in the parliament, that is to say, oversight function. And we've seen that work is far done, it's ongoing, and if by my assessment, I would say we have recorded about 75%, both civil work and installation, of work done, and that's very good. We're told by the acting commissioner that the job will be delivered by December 2020. We're hopeful that they will do that, but as it is, we only want to commend the commissioner and her team for a job well done. I mean, well supervised, well monitored. This is huge. A 32 metric tons per hour rice mill is the fourth largest in the whole wide world, and the biggest and the most technologically advanced mill in Africa. So we must give kudos to the government. I give kudos to the government of Mr. Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. They are doing a very, very great job. And I also want to, say bravo to the Right Honorable Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa, for giving these projects and very many others that legal backing, for them to thrive.
The rice processing factory is arguably the fourth largest in the world and the largest in Africa. The project, when completed, is expected to create jobs for residents as well as increased internally generated revenue of the state. Plans are underway to address traffic congestion on Lagos roads. A bill for a law to provide for the regulation of traffic on all highways, roads and streets in Lagos State was read for the first time earlier in the week.
The bill was about is it was the first reading and basically has to do with transport sector reform law. We have laws extant laws that govern the state, and the transport sector happens to be the busiest and one of the most lucrative or one of the most important aspects of the government. If you recall, during the campaign of His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the first letter on his agenda, the team's agenda, was the transport and traffic solution. So part of this is the amendment of the laws are created to govern and to also help put in place the right decisions for things that we do our daily lives and also to govern daily lives. And so laws are meant to be amended, repealed, reenacted, or rewritten. So that is why we are going through the first reading for the law was read today on the floor of the House. So what that entails is we're asking ministries to come up with different amendments they want in the existing law, so to upgrade the law to suit the needs of the people in the Lagos State and in the transport family as of the moment. So Lagos State is yet to achieve the transport needs of the people with the estimated daily influx of 6,000 people, and they have to transport from point A to point B either using vehicular mode of transportation or water or the rail service. And then it was very important for the Lagos state government to also start to look into mass transit and making it very lucrative, at the same time very affordable, and at the same time attractive, so we can have more people in one medium to move from point A from point B. So it is necessary to have governing laws to help enable these operations work effectively and smoothly in the state. You would recall that the governor just on Tuesday last week released 550 buses, and also he added to the BRT corridors. At the same time, he promised of more boats being added to the transport system, and we launched the first travel card called the Cowrie, where all the ITS, what we call the integrated travel system or transport system, is all together, all in one, encompassing, and where it will work with the boat sector, the waterways, the transport sector, which is the road, and the rail. So these are the things that we're trying to put together. At the same time, always trying to make sure, when they say where there is no law, there is no sin, that where we have defaulters, like you recall some months ago, there was boat mishaps where we unfortunately lost some passengers on the water because they had no life jackets on. So these are the kind of things that we're putting in place to have the transport law as encompassing as possible and effective as possible.
And with that, we've come to the end of the program this week. We thank you for watching. Do join us again next time for another episode. Until then, please obey the public health guidelines and stay safe.